Welcome back to another episode of Lead Stronger Longer. If this is the first time we're meeting, I'm Stefana Johnson, and I have become very passionate about true sovereignty. I used to, like 20 years ago, I had this power statement that I would say, I'm soulfully sovereign and I'm financially and spiritually rich, and my little mantra thing. I didn't fully know what sovereign meant until I met the gentleman that's sitting next to me, Will Keller, and then at a depth to understand everything that I have been trying to put forth with my life, which is to lead yourself first, lead from the inside out, lead your families, lead our communities in a healthy, holistic way. And what that means to me, holistic, is that you do no harm. You harm none. Now, if you have to defend, okay, there's that. Usually I'm not in a space where I have to defend. So just that was who I was and who I am at my nature, to show up and to want the best for everyone. And I thought that that's what everybody else wanted as well. Well, turns out I'm pretty wrong, like way wrong. And if you haven't figured out by now, one of the biggest catalysts was the really fun adventure in 2000. Mind blowing to me is that's what happened. But hey, that was the catalyst that many needed to wake up to a whole new level and to really understand that not everyone has your best interest at heart. And especially when we're talking about leaders who run and rule like they are the king and they are reigning over the population in hellfire and destroying people's lives, livelihoods, and creating absolute terror and chaos. And that's not okay with me. So, going back to then reign, sovereign, you are from your own soul reigning your heart, your body, your mind, your thoughts. And that is clearly what I'm passionate about. And inspiring others and educating others at this point that we have to lead ourselves first, and that's the first most important thing, and that is the only way you're going to lead stronger, longer. So in that vein, I have asked Will Keller, amazing. There's so many things about Will. You should learn about him if you haven't. This is our 7th episode, I think. Definitely avail yourself. He's got his website right there. But for the next hour and a half, we are going to learn something tangible, because that is what not only what I've been asking for, our audience has been asking for, my son asked for, is like, tell me exactly what we can do to apply natural law on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis in our life and in our business, how we lead that, how we show up, and show me empirical, tangible evidence of how that has impacted your life and how we can move forward. So, of course, Will is completely up for anything. And as a result, he has created an incredible a checklist and something that I was asking for. So I'm going to turn this over to Will. And of course, I will butt in as needed when I'm confused about something. Please make sure you comment and share, like, do all the other whatever things so that we can put out this amazing content that I know Will is going to be sharing with us. And let's do it. Welcome, Will. I'm so glad, and welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you, Stefana. It's always a pleasure. It's good to be back. Thanks to all the viewers that have tuned in. And I think this is going to be a very practical episode. There's going to be a lot of good information, and we're going to kind of take it in pieces. But there are some major caveats, well, I'll preface it with this, right? The outline, the checklist that I'm going to go through, I think it's great, and it's something that we all can strive towards for personal development, to live in a harmonious, moral condition with nature, with ourselves, our family, and society as well. Now, the human condition, what is going on, the control, the duress, this plays obviously a huge factor in our individual development. So that's kind of a category that I'm going to talk about as well. But first, let's just go through the practical kind of checklist. First and foremost, why is this important? This is important. I'll use two words, karma and dharma. These are Eastern spiritual terms, right, from the Vedic system. Karma, the word, most people have heard of that. Most people have an incorrect understanding of what that is. The word karma itself simply means action. That's what it means. It means cause and effect. There is an action, thus a reaction. So karma obviously works in the aggregate in a whole collective, sense of the species, the planet itself, and also on the individual level. So in this checklist, we are going to be talking about generating a harmonious pathway of moral karma, moral action, right action. Now, dharma is, you can look at dharma, well, the word itself, it means natural law. It means purpose. So this is a more divine sense of your direction, right? True natural order, which is natural law. So when someone says, what is my dharma? It is what I have incarnated here to achieve on the macro sense for my soul development, right? It is a goal. Sometimes that takes lifetimes. So it is the overarching purpose. And of course, this works on the individual, but it also works on a collective aspect as well. Humanity's dharma, obviously that is to evolve and learn as a species, to be interconnected with the whole system of the universe, right? To achieve symbiosis. So that is dharma. The reason why I'm explaining this as a caveat is because it is important to understand the checklist, the pathway that I'm going to go through, striving as moral right action, karma, towards your individual dharma, thus adding to the collective karma and dharma, right? And of course, absolutely, and we could touch on this because it's vital, about the control system and the current state of the world impeding and hindering the process of self-development, of individual karma, the karmic repercussions that we are facing in the aggregate as a collective, and how it blocks and retards the dharmic progression of humanity and the planet itself and all the beings that come with it.
I got some questions.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
All right. You said karma is action, and then you said cause and effect. Is karma also non-action? And then in terms of action, cause and effect, cause is the action. Non-action could also create a cause. So I just want to make sure, does karma equal action? Does action equal cause and effect? Because it seemed like that's what you were saying. And my mind works in a way of like, okay, is this just a word it can't take over? And just like when you were saying dharma, purpose, natural law, well, then I have a misunderstanding of natural law, because I certainly don't think natural law is purpose. So you lost me a little bit there, and I want to make sure I'm really clear on this, because I love karma and dharma. I practice in my own, living my dharma and in right action as a yogi practitioner. So that's important to me, but I don't see how. Okay, so dharma, natural law, because correct me if I'm wrong. Natural law is the expression of an individual sentient being who is living and allow and not allowing, but that just flowing with harmony and order and not harming, right? Taking actions that are in alignment and in harmony, do no harm, things like this. Is that, am I off?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't explain it like that. Natural law is the governing dynamics of reality. Creator has put a system in place, and natural law is the boundary conditions of reality. So it is there. Why is it there, right? Why are there laws that govern existence, that govern nature and reality? It's there for, this is why I say it is Dharma. Its purpose is to teach us. It is the mentor. It is showing us the effect of our actions, of our causes, right? So it's the parameters by which we operate to come to learn and evolve.
Okay, so then I need to fully get this. Natural law has nothing to do with, I mean, the word law, we just have to remove that. It is just.
No, we don't. That word law is vital. Natural and law, we can talk about this. Natural, right? The definition, the etymology means creation, right? Creator.
Wait. Natural does?
Absolutely, 100%. It comes from the Cometian culture, right? And it was spelled NTR, and that means creator. And natural, when you add the all at the end of that, it means of, like, or from creator, creation. That's natural. So we're talking about God, not in the cultural religion sense. We're talking about the all, the great spirit.
Okay, I have to soak that in for a moment.
Sure.
I think of course I've heard this, and I'm really dense, meaning I've got a lot of whatever it's called, mud caked on that I'm penetrating through my understanding, through my old beliefs. That was the most beautiful thing right there. Okay, so now tell me what law is.
Law, the etymology, what it really means, it is an immutable, binding, dynamic, or condition. Right? When we think of law, we can think of gravitation, electromagnetism, thermodynamics, right? These are what we call physical laws that even the scientific community recognizes. They are not created by humans. They can be observed, and we can see the effects of this, right? So it is a binding, immutable, divine, because it's from creator, creation, non-man-made, dynamic or condition. It's very interesting. So when you put both of them together, natural law, we're talking about God's law, creator's law. It is the system of the creator that has been put in place that governs everything.
And you know my question that I want to ask. Who is this creator? I want to sit down and talk with them right now. Right? Of course, that's my childish. That's that whole thing that I'm processing through, because there you're saying that, and then take it down into the cause and the effect of right here where we are and this game, right? And I would say, okay, we're playing this game and whatever, but is that all? See, this is what's happening with my mind right now, folks. Enjoy the process of a brain that is trying to figure all this out, that is completely imbalanced, was imbalanced on the right side as solipsism, that kind of thing, for a couple decades, and really immersed in this. And now my brain's trying to switch, but I'm also very logical. And it's incredibly painful in my brain, folks. Just so you have some like understanding. Okay. Karma and Dharma. You said Dharma is natural law. So Dharma is then the creation's immutable, binding that. And then here we are trying to live our dharma, which is our purpose, which is natural law. You see, it's like I'm really trying to understand
Sure.
this.
Sure. Yeah, dharma, the word dharma, it means purpose. That's what it means. Now,
Okay.
there's always the macro and the micro, just as there's the universe and the individual, or the planet and the individual, right? They're one and the same, they're just different sides of the coin, so to speak. So when I say dharma is natural law, I'm talking about that on the grand scheme, or not scheme, but the grand scale in the macrocosm. It is natural law. Natural law, why is it in place? Why do we have these boundary conditions, these governing dynamics? That is for the process of balance and evolution, progression forward,
Okay.
the divine intention,
I'm following you. In terms
God's
of
will. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's such a massive disservice with regards to, because of so many confusions about God. And, I feel like I'm navigating all these different beliefs and thoughts and definitions.
Yes.
And in doing that, it's to either just throw everything out, which I don't think is effective either. But I keep trying to compare it or put it into, I can see my brain, feel my brain, trying to compartmentalize so I can understand so that I can take action. Because I'm definitely a results person, right? I want to see the result. I want to see what's the end result we can create. Mm-hmm. So I get lost in these little details. And
well, this is why communication is so important.
Yeah.
Right? You could say a word, and yes, a word is just a word, but the power that that word holds for one's own awareness and consciousness is where the magic is, right? Because you could say living in harmony with natural law, but what does it mean? You can say I'm sovereign, but what does that mean?
That's
and
right.
Again, like kind of the purpose of this episode, right, is it needs to be useful,
that's right,
moral, and truthful, like we talked about last episode. So this is the kind of the crux of it, and the meaning for karma and dharma. So, dharma is purpose on the macrocosm. It is natural law, right? Mm-hmm. Which is true natural order, right? Natural law works perfectly. And then on the microcosm, on the individual, it is our individual purpose, soul purpose, our essence, what we are here to learn and achieve on a soul level.
Okay, that's huge. So I'm going to let you get back to it because I want to know that outline and
sure,
see how we can actually apply it. Awesome.
Absolutely. So, and again, like a secondary caveat, right? I'm going to run through these, and someone may think, wow, if I can check off all of these, then, I'm going to be striving for self-mastery. And the answer is yes. But like I mentioned earlier, we are being hindered. So it's not about striving for perfection, because perfection is impossible. That's not the point of being human. Right? The point of being human is to learn, to act and engage, right? With our relationship of everything. So these are, best practices to strive for. So first and foremost, like everything, it starts within, right? In the mind, in the internal ecology. And I have kind of titled this category just inner foundation, right? And again, like each one of these categories, we could spend hours and hours on. So let me kind of just run through these, and feel free to jump in if you have questions. But I don't want to spend a great deal amount of time on each one. For instance, the first one, in quotes, know thyself. This is a trendy phrase, right? But what does that mean? It means that you are going to commit to self-inquiry, and you're doing an internal analysis of oneself. So it is a commitment to know yourself, know your psyche, the compartments of yourself, right? And how you operate. Obviously, your intentions, right? Align your intentions with truth. Like we've talked about in the past. I cut my lip earlier, folks, so if I'm kind of dabbing it, excuse me. We talked about intentions being a mental marker. That is your goal, right? If you're doing this checklist, why? Why are you doing this checklist, right? Why are you integrating a moral, ethical, harmonious ritual that you're going to embody, right? So that's important. That's what intentions are for, to be a better person, to know yourself more and better. And of course, healing our wounds, releasing fear and shame, and analyzing the trauma and the distorted perceptions that we all hold. We were born into this. We were raised with this programming and conditioning. And of course, as adults, it's our responsibility and our accountability to face those and weed them out. And then, of course, cultivating virtue. Right? When someone says virtue, I'm not talking about, most people, even when it comes to morality, people have a distorted perception of morality because they think it's something that has to do with cultural religions, and that's not the case. Same thing with virtues. There are moral, ethical virtues that people need to strive for. What are some of them? Let's read off a list, right? We have integrity, meaning that you are living in alignment with highest values and actions. There used to be a phrase, many, many years ago in the ancient times that your word is your bond. What is a bond? A bond is an assurity, meaning you say something and you do it, right? We have strayed very far from that path in the modern time. So integrity, courage, right? Doing what is necessary in spite of fear. So it's even acknowledging fear may be present, but you're still acting upon that. That is courage. Compassion, justice, self-responsibility, temperance, right? Living in balance and in moderation. Of course, wisdom, applying the knowledge learned that is in harmony with nature. Gratitude, reverence, right? Reverence is giving a deep respect for nature, for this journey. Although we are in a certain human condition, we are here for that dharmic purpose that must be discovered by individuals. And there's obviously beauty all around us, so we can give that reverence to be alive, to be active, to be healthy, to strive for wholeness. So that's the inner foundation. And though it might seem kind of broad, right? Commit to knowing yourself at a deep level, your psychology and how you function, aligning your intentions, which matter, right? Morality, truth, healing the wounds and the trauma that we have faced, and cultivating ethical, moral virtues. That's the inner foundation. And some of these, when we say a checklist, it's not like, okay, know thyself, complete, heal my wounds, complete. It's not really a checklist. It's a pathway that is continuously walked, and you are striving for this. So, moving on to the second section, our moral compass in action. Right? Now we're in the compass, the compassion. You see that the inner foundation is more mental. The second category of the compass in action, compass, moral compass, because you can feel it's the care. It is the emotional ecology. And of course, the principles of sovereignty, right? Do no harm and self-defense. Strive for this. Do no harm. That applies to everything in life. Speak the truth, even when it is uncomfortable and unbearable, right? The silence that you choose in the face of evil is 100% complicity and obedience. It's exactly what the social engineers want. Speaking the truth to your friends, to your family members, in your relationships. It is better to speak the truth and have someone have a negative reaction, they cry, it hurts them, right? Than to tell them a sweet lie. Honor consent in all relationships and transactions. And I extend this even to your own children, right? Once they come of age where they are cognitively online, right? Respect their consent, for sure. And then keep agreements. Same thing with, virtue, integrity. Uphold your word. Your word is a reflection of your energetic integrity, right? So that is kind of a package to keep us on a moral compass, right? Because all of these you can feel as well. Sure, you can come to know, mentally, but you feel do no harm. You can feel that someone was violated or you were violating someone or someone has violated you. Speak the truth. You are speaking. It is the bridge between the mental and the emotional. And of course, speaking is also an action. There's energy there. Honoring consent, that is reverence and respect for others as well. And sure, that applies not only to humans, to animals, to the earth, the very dirt and soil you walk upon.
Yeah.
Right? So that's important.
I have a couple questions, and
Sure.
there's a great question in the chat.
Cool.
So first, in terms of being a mom, and anyone who has children knows this stuck place. And it's hard to recognize. I definitely wanted to empower my boys to make their own choices. And yet there is a lot of influence. And so I did require that there were no digital devices. There was no, I didn't want them to have a smartphone or mobile phone at all. And I required it like 16. That was my law in my household because I wanted healthy humans who could think for themselves, not get a bunch of input. And I had so much pushback from their dad and from the community and even from them. And this is, to me, goes into, okay, well, if we're going to do no harm and the self-defense, I look at that as self-defense because they are still an extension of me. Definitely my choice is not to have my boys circumcised, even though that was everything that, or whatever. I mean, you could insert anything in there. Mm-hmm. And I look at that as definitely self-defense. And I think that as mothers and fathers, that is our responsibility. That is our work to steward and make sure. And sometimes, I'm sorry, there is not consent. No, there is no phone. We're not doing smartphones because I know what the dangers of that are. Type of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that is definitely something that others would disagree with. And they would say, well, my truth is that they should have it because I need to be able to get a hold of my son whenever I can get a hold of him. And it's like, okay. So then that goes then back to, okay, speak the truth. Then it goes back to, well, I'm going to speak my truth. And apparently my truth is different than your truth. So it's not the truth. Do you know what I mean? And this is where I get into this. Well, do your own thing then, people, because I'm going to do what's right in my world and for me. And then it goes back into, well, now I'm butting up against solipsism. Now I'm butting up against this and that, right? So I really would love your take on that. And then if you saw this, what are the prerequisites bringing a child into this world? Oh my word. That's loaded.
Good question, Daryl. Or that's not Daryl. That's Fit Strong 305. Daryl's also in the chat too. Good to see you, brother. Okay. So everything is not black and white, right? There is a gradient. There is a rhythm to nature, right? It's not summer and then next day winter, right? So everything, it's not so black and white. So when we even talk about, I mean, even morality, we could talk about as well, right? It's not so, there's the objective foundation, and then it moves into a more gray area of subjective aspects depending on the condition and the situation. Same thing with the stewardship aspect of being a parent, right? We need to have healthy discernment and understand if we are being influenced by external forces, right? And we make the choice as parents. So taking consideration of our children's perspective, wants and needs is vital. They might not understand the war that we are in, the attack, the influence, right? You do, all right? The parent might. So yes, there is that gray area of saying no cell phone. So I have been through that stage as well. My daughter is almost 12. She does not have a cell phone. We do have a tablet that we use. There is a balance. There is a median, right? I got her a walkie-talkie instead. Super fun. I can keep in contact with her if she's at her mom's or a friend's house, right? But knowing the dangers of a cell phone, there is that median that we have to make a choice to strive for. But understand this, as the age increases, so does their autonomy and their choice and their free will expression. That must be honored, right? So communication and education is always the pathway, always. So it's instead of, and I'm not saying you're doing this, I'm just giving an example. No cell phone, no cell phone. Explain why. And that is an ongoing process of, trying to show your child, here are the dangers. Here's a correct way to use a cell phone. Here's right. An incorrect way to use a cell phone, right? So there is, in life itself, there is no handbook. This is what all the cultural religions want to do. They want to say, oh, my book is the handbook to how to be human. It's the only book to be human. Nature doesn't work like that.
Right.
Nature wants you to experience, to observe, to think, and understand, and make a choice, and live with that choice. Mm. So it is a gray area for sure. And I mean, that's kind of, that's the dance of being a steward of a child. Your child will grow, become autonomous, and their cognitive ability will come online, and you should absolutely respect that when that time starts to develop.
Yeah, and it develops early on, but ultimately they learn what they live, right? I don't carry a cell phone around with me ever, and I make sure that because for myself, I wouldn't do that. So I wouldn't want them, or like food, any of these topics, even mm-hmm. me learning more about this, that's me going through it. And I remember being very open and honest with my boys because I had such enormous fear within myself of being sexually abused. And so I really was hyper vigilant and educated them probably too young, not by instilling fear, but awareness. And I think that that's as mothers and fathers, speaking for myself, there's always that. No, I'm only going to speak for myself here. I feel like I have lived my life, trying to follow the rules, and then having my own innate compass, and yet trying to fit in. And I just wonder how many people in the chat, or even that are here, have that as well. in terms of like, okay, so how do we navigate it? But for me, it's always come back to I have to get quiet. I have to get still and reconnect to me. And that took a long time because I had so many other voices that I was following, right? Even some that pretended to be others' voices. And I want to make sure that I don't do that with even Mark's work. All of these other one great works, that ultimately it does have to come back to us as individuals in that. So that's interesting. Okay. I think I'm finished now. Go ahead and
Yeah, no,
continue.
you made some
Yeah.
fantastic points, right? I could present this whole checklist, and it it's just an outline, a pathway, right? Again, going back to what does that mean, and how can you or an individual apply that? Because we're all in our relative subjective experiences. My life is very different from your life and someone else's life. Of course, there are objective principles as well, but it's the ultimate practice is the one that the individual creates on their own. Right? So this outline that we're going through, let this be a guide, an aid to assist someone into stepping onto their own outline, their own pathway towards self-development, towards self-mastery, right?
Oh yeah, I totally get that. That's what I asked for, is
Yeah.
that you could bring something so I could see it. And as you're describing all of this, it looks like all of the work that I've done for 45 years, all from early on. And then it also looks like some of my coaching programs, like, oh wow, look at that. But the difference is this, that this is no longer superficial. This is no longer something pretty to check off a checklist. It is the deep hard work. And I feel like I've literally been doing these same things. I can go back 30 years and it's the same checklist of know thyself, studying and trying to learn more books. And I think learn and read more books. I'm not sure what I'm saying yet. So I'm going to shut up.
No, I totally understand. I see this in my work all the time when, talking about the current state of the world and talking about morality and the solution. And, sometimes people say, well, it's got to be more complex than that. Oh, to what? To understand morality, understand right and wrong, and then embody that authentically, and then act in the world and educate people. So it's one thing to say or to know something, it's another to do. So authenticity is absolutely important and vital.
And it's another to do at a deeper level.
Yes.
Because there are levels of doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the surface doing, it's like polishing going and getting your nails done, right? For self-care. Okay, I'm going to go get my nails done, and that's my self-care for the day. That's something you're doing, but there's no depth to it. And and it's much deeper than I ever thought. And yet it's almost easier. As I look back this path, if I were to say something to anyone and it says, what are the prerequisites for bringing a child into this world? Your question, I'm curious, does that apply to you personally because you're wanting to bring a child into this world? I certainly would have my opinions and what my experience is and what I would say to my past self before I had children. But it would definitely be something you would want to, for yourself, know before you bring a child into this world, right?
I would love to actually add on to that question. It's a great question, right?
Yeah, it is.
This is a perfect question where there is the exoteric, the surface level, and then there's the deeper meaning and answers, right? So what are the prerequisites for bringing a child into this world? Well, nature has two prerequisites, a man and a woman. That's it. That's it. That's the surface level. A man and a woman, you create a child right there. But going deeper into the esoteric, right? Then we get into, well, conscious conception would be ideal. Two people that understand the governing dynamics of reality and how they operate, to understand objective morality, that are on the pathway of knowing themselves and developing themselves, have resources, right? Being financially secure, and then making that choice for that union to create the vessel of the incoming soul, right? And spirit. So that's at the deeper level. That would be ideal, right? Conscious conception. But of course, in our human condition and in the world, it's not so black and white. It's not so black and white.
Indeed. Okay. Well, that's for sure. So, as I'm making these notes, I noticed there was a couple things. So you keep coming back to this. There is not the black and white, right? So I am very black and white. What is that about? Just so I can get clarity.
Sure.
Because as I was studying Passio, he's like, this is it. This is black and white. This is crystal clear, folks. There is no gradient of this. This is the truth. This is not. This is what's going on. This is what you have to do. And I like that. I crave more of that, because there's so much BS, so much gaslighting. There's been all of that. I want the clear crystal. I don't, even.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what I was saying, it's not just black and white. Black and white exists, right? That is objectivity. But there's also subjectivity as well. Just like reality is objective, and then the individual having their experience and their journey is subjective, right? Subjective experience in an objective reality. So it's both black and white and gray and all the scales in between, the full spectrum. So I agree 100% with Mark. Morality. There is objective morality, 100%. That is the foundations. And then as you keep going up, you move into the ethical realm, which ethics, right, gets more subjective. So it's all of that. Understanding first principles and understanding objectivity is the foundation.
Yeah, I'm going to have to process this, because how can ethics be subjective? I mean,
so what is ethics, right? What is the ethos, right? If morality is objective, the difference between right and wrong, right? What's the difference between morality and ethics? Ethics is the ethos, is those virtues, and that can, first and foremost, morality comes first, right? Then the ethics, how you function within a certain dynamic, can become more relative and more subjective, right? So if morality is what you cannot do, what you can and cannot do, ethics is what you should or shouldn't do. Right? And that can vary in culture, in a business, an organization, in a community, right? But ethics stands upon objective morality, always.
Okay. I definitely could pull all this apart, because then it goes into, well, in that case, then if we have all these, if we have this culture that are cannibals, and
no, but they've already violated first principles. Morality comes first. Objective morality always comes first.
But if that's how they survive, they have to eat each other because they have no other food.
They're still committing immorality, and it's a wrongdoing.
Okay. So then let me do, I went way on the other end of the spectrum.
Sure.
That probably didn't work. So if ethics is the ethos of the culture of the should and shouldn'ts, right? And you're in a culture or a community that says you must put this diaper on your face. And if you don't, you are bad. And you should put that on because you are harming me and you are harming my, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you kind of conflated the two. You brought that example into the moral realm, right? The difference is this. This is a good way to explain morality and ethics. The shopping cart, and a lot of people, they equate the shopping cart theory with morality. So people say if you don't put your shopping cart, at the grocery store back into the cart rack, that's an example of morality. No, that's an example of ethics. You have the right to leave your cart right there in the parking lot, right? On the side. You have that right. But yet the ethics would just walk a few more feet and put it back in the cart. It's a kind thing to do.
That's
it's a kind
if you have
gesture.
integrity and you have virtues. Okay. So then this goes down to the gal speeding, my neighbor speeding down the street.
Correct. She has the right to do that.
She has the right to do it. I think it's unethical.
Yeah, I would say that
but
would
it's
be
not
unethical
immoral.
as well.
But so that's where the truth is. So then this is not solipsism. It's just what I believe is ethical. And she doesn't believe that because she doesn't feel like she's speeding. Right? So then we get to the police because the police are going to enforce certain things with the speed limit. But then the police are bad. Order followers are bad. Right? You see? So am
Correct.
I lumping everything all in again?
Yeah. Yes, you kind of are.
But see, this is what frustrates me because we can't say this is how it's going to be this way, but only this way, and then not this way when this happens. That's what it's like. Come on.
Well, this is where it comes down to the ring of power, like the Lord of the Rings. Everyone wants that ring of power. They want to enforce their ethos onto other people. Well, you should wear a mask when you go into the store, right? Or you should do this, or don't walk on my lawn, or people have their own values that they try to enforce on other people. So although you don't like it when your neighbor drives fast down the street, she 100% has the right to do that. Sure, I agree with you. It's reckless, right? But to try to go get someone like an order follower to violate her, that would be the issue. You can confront her, communicate with her, try to put up a sign, you can do all that kind of stuff.
But this is where, so now we are at the effect. Okay. So I'm seeing this and processing. Now here's the effect of all not laws or ordinances, codes, etc., that are in place.
Yeah, we don't need any of that stuff.
Because people want because this is what I value and I want to control. And then the ring of power. Really interesting. Okay. I want you to get back to your outline. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's a great topic to distinguish the difference, right? Ethics and morality. So.
Yeah, that's important. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we left on the moral compass and action, do no harm, speak truth, honor consent, and keep agreements, right? Moving to the third category, the practical lifestyle alignment, right? Number one, support ethical commerce, right? Make the conscious decision to buy from businesses, to invest your resources into a moral or ethical company, right? That they don't adhere to coercion and duress and immorality. I mean, the whole COVID scenario was great. During that whole time, I was buying groceries at farm stands and family-owned businesses that did not try to violate my rights. I'm going to spend my resources there. These people understand moral and ethical boundaries and principles, right? So we can do that in, many aspects to the best of our ability. To the best of our ability. Now, people have a lot of people have a purist mindset where, oh, you don't, um, you shouldn't have a mortgage, you shouldn't have a credit card, you shouldn't have this, you shouldn't have that. You need to do what you can to support integrity and ethical systems, right? But would it be wise to not adhere to something like a driver's license? And people might get up in arms. I did that for 7 years, right? Unscathed, exactly. But would it be wise to do that in the condition of slavery and control and duress? So again, it's do what we can, but
Yeah.
we're striving for best practices.
And I think that this is what I have now seen from coming full circle on this, is that each individual will have to make those decisions, whether or not you do what it's the American Assembly and going that direction and no license or whatever. But we have to know the game we're playing. So we can know ourselves. We also have to know the game we're playing.
Exactly.
And that is so crucial, because I know as a single mom, I had to really navigate very carefully the game I was playing, because most important in my life were my 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we all have to ultimately come down to. And I'm curious, because you are a business owner. If you're going to get to it, then I'll let you get to it. But if you're a business owner yourself,
Mm-hmm.
I believe you are.
Yes.
Then how do you, so even supporting ethical commerce in terms of that and doing what you can to support, what does that look like for you in like day-to-day life? I'm really curious if you're willing to share that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I'm a contractor. I came from a family business. I did not take over the family accounts because they wanted contractor license. They wanted tax information. They wanted to limit the type of jobs that I can do. And I said, later, I'm not going to do that. Right? I'm not going to get a contractor's license that is permission for me to work. So what I did instead was I created a website. I got myself on certain platforms. I put my name and my company out there and the services that I provide, and those customers reach out to me directly. So it's person to person interaction.
And
I do a service, they pay me the transaction, and I don't pay any taxes or anything like that because there's no information on the books, so to say.
Well, right. And okay, so we won't go there at this point in terms of tax and what we know. It's a criminal organization. It is not.
Yes.
The government is a criminal organization. We know that 1 billion%. We know that. So certainly any penny I would not, it would be unacceptable and totally immoral from my viewpoint to contribute to that criminal organization. That's that. But
some people may not be in that situation, right? Some people might be working for another company that, gives them a W-2 or 1099s them, right? So
there are things that you can do. There are
yes,
absolutely things you can do
for sure
to perform that, because yes. So
that's a great point. And on this thread that we're talking about, the point is right livelihood, meaning the actions, the work that you are doing, does it adhere to objective morality, right? Versus you're a garbage employee, or you're a garbage person, right? You take garbage, or you do sanitary, versus being an order follower, which is wrong livelihood. So doing sanitary or any other kind of business that does not violate others, that would be moral, that would be ethical, right? Aside from the whole taxes and theft charade that they do, right? It's where you are putting your energy and your actions toward. So we are striving for right livelihood, 100%. And that can be hard for a lot of people, even order followers that have a military career or in the police department, Well, that's what I know how to do. You should quit your job and do something else.
And
That's
and
the
then
truth
that
of it.
ties back to their dharma, that then ties to their karma, so their own purpose. Um, it would be interesting to find out and ask a survey of any police officer, uh, anyone who's an order follower, is this your purpose? Would they even know? That's beside the point. But one thing I was curious about in terms of actually implementing, you said you didn't have a license for 7 years. Is that correct?
Yes, a driver's license.
A
Yes.
driver's license. And so even insurance, I've paid insurance since my first car at 16. Now, okay, so that's how many years, decades that I've paid in to this insurance company. I've never had an accident, knock on wood or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So again, I guess it goes back to what game are you playing and because ultimately I want peace of mind. And I think that there is a part of that I need peace of mind. Do you know what I mean? And so that's important. And I'm navigating this right now with my son who's 16, and the insurance is crazy for a 16-year-old, right? And so it's like, and then all the other taxes and fees and licensing and all of that. But there's so much energy that goes into trying to avoid that and not do that, when really I just want to get from point A to point B. So how do you look at that, make a decision, lead your life, knowing you do want to ultimately be moral, but you also have stuff to do? You know what I mean? I can't
Yes.
spend my life trying to figure out all these things.
Yes.
Right?
And no, this is what you're bringing up is very important. And this was kind of the big secondary category that I wanted to talk about. The system of slavery exists, right? And it is expanding and it is getting more aggressive. That is what is hindering not only our individual development and dharma, the humanity as a species, the whole planet, right? It is hindering, it is blocking, it is thwarting the process of evolution. If we don't take care of that first, then we are going to constantly be in the pathway of involution and breaking down. So it's the catch-22, right? So if the control system is the parasite, you just don't ignore it and just keep, sure, you might be eating better or exercising more, but if that parasite is still breeding inside of you and reproducing, you need to get that parasite out. It needs to be cleansed, right? So this is where the one great work comes in. So we are all being hindered on our dharmic path, what our sole purpose is, because of the condition of slavery, this mind virus. And this is why it is so important to activate and do the one great work. So at least the next go round for ourselves, maybe in the next life or lives, but for our children and the next souls coming in and reincarnating into this existence, we can try to defeat that beast, to clear the dharmic path and the karmic path. So that's the elephant in the room, right? The mind virus, the control system that is hindering evolutionary progress.
Yeah. And I have so much I want to say and ask, but I'm still processing, because it's going to the cause and the effect. Ultimately, we are part of that original cause. Let's say reincarnated, or, you talk about reincarnation, you talk about souls coming in and souls dharma. There's so much work that has to be done within that to unravel it, because it's almost like this massive web of insanity.
What do you mean by original cause?
I mean, the original start of slavery, the original moment where we went off, where we went wrong. That's to me like what we have to clean up. And yet, no,
No, you
I know
you
we talked
you
about
you
this last
can't. Yeah, you can't go back to the past and try to correct that for thousands of human
I will
beings.
tell you something. Well,
Sure. The
I
the the cause is always now.
okay. Then help me with this,
Hmm.
because I have a personal practice and have taught many clients because of having significant trauma in my life. Okay. And wired brain from pre-7, we know what happens as a child. That's your formatting, right? Formative years.
Correct.
So I had significant trauma in those formative years that I functioned and operated from. Much of it was, of course, subconscious. I still have to take a pause
Hmm.
and shift between that stimulus and response, right? So I have gone back to my past. I have gone back to that little girl 50 years ago and have been with her and sat with her and sat with that energy and done all of that work every single moment.
Hmm.
And I do that as a ritual every single morning, cleaning up my past. And I do
Fantastic.
believe that there is ancestral connection with regards to that there is generational things. And I have definitely made an impact for today, for myself, this woman I am now, by going back and changing my past energetically. So,
Yeah.
so that's where there's a bit of a I don't know,
Well, no,
confusion.
no,
It's
I
working very
totally
close to me,
understand. I
you know.
understand what you're talking about, right? You're going in the past in the mental realm and the emotional realm, right? Manifestation happens in the now. And what creates, what manifests is the actions that we take. How do you heal that ancestral trauma? Sure, you can do regression mentally and emotionally, but you sever that trauma by becoming and freeing yourself in the now through your actions. So if we want to end the human condition of slavery, sure, we can learn mentally from the traumas that, other people's, even thousands of years ago, the reasoning how we got here, the stepwise progression. But we actually create change in the now through our actions.
Okay. Cause is the action.
It's the
So cause is now.
Well, cause and effect is always happening, right? So what I'm saying is change, to create change. If we want to end slavery, it's the choices that you are doing now in the present moment.
What about making up the damage you've created by a choice you made yesterday that was harmful?
For sure.
So you can
Mentally,
go back.
mentally and
No, I can go back
energetically.
and fix something that I damaged yesterday. I can go back and fix that. I mean, I can't go back
Sure.
in time, but I can go, oh, pardon me, I did not that I apologize. Let me fix that. Right.
Well,
So
yeah, but not physically. The action was done, right? You
right. And
mentally,
I'm gonna take action to then repair.
yes. Yes. But the action of breaking, right? The cause of it being broke happened. It is. This is why acceptance is very important. The choice of you going back and fixing the item that was broke, that's a secondary. You are addressing the effect, thus creating another cause, because you made that choice to go fix it. Same thing with human slavery. It's not about going to the original cause. It's about what you are doing in the here and now.
My mind still wants to go and fix
How
or repair the aberration. that had the first choice to make the wrong action, the first immoral action, and go and repair that.
Yeah,
Because we're still in the
but
effect. We're
you're
still in the effect. Well,
no, it's cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, right? Because even at the effect, you make a choice, which creates another cause. But when we're talking about slavery, right? You can't go back and try to correct something where thousands of people had already made that choice. So you're speaking from the self, but you're applying it to the all, to the aggregate.
right. Okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I don't know if you've read Power versus Force. David Hawkins does. He has some incredible books,
He does, yeah.
and part of that is essentially, there's certain frequencies, and when there are certain frequencies that cause that will shift the cause, that will shift the outcome. Okay, so and then I was also going to say, so is cause, you keep saying cause and choice. So the choice is creating the cause, creating the action. Again, all these words. I think I'm making it more complicated.
The cause is always in the mind, right?
Whoa.
Mentally, you make the choice.
The cause is always in the mind, so that I can use my mind to go back and repair, because I'm doing it mentally.
But you're okay. You can go back in your mind to, like, here in the internal foundation of this outline we talked about healing wounds. You could go back in time, right? But you can't heal other people's wounds, but you can go back into your early life, right? And accept that which has happened, which is truth, which occurred in the past and is occurring in the present. You can accept that it happened.
And what if,
right? And learn from it.
Refuses to accept that happened and wants to repair that and make it and shift that, and it's like, no, that was a mistake. I am going to redo that. I'm going to revise that.
When you redo that, you're talking about the now, that you're not going to make the choices that you made in the past in the present.
Yes, and.
Okay.
So what is that? What because I'm newer with Mark's work, is that solipsism? Is that my brain wanting wishful thinking and wanting to shift? Because I've practiced.
Yes.
I mean, this is literally what I practiced, being able to change energy, bend spoons. I mean, come on, can you bend spoons? I bend spoons. I don't know exactly how, because I can't teach someone else to do it, but I get into this space where I am freaking bending a spoon. And so I know that there is something more. I just don't know how to make. I just know there's something more, and I know
there absolutely is something more, for sure. But there's also the metaphysical and the physical, right? So the past has manifested. It has became, right? The now is the process of becoming. So when you asked if that is solipsism, yes, it is. And when we talked about the process of initiation, right? Stop lying, stop, I said dreaming, which it is really cognitive dissonance, right? That's where that is. It's magical thinking. It's wishful thinking. That does not mean that you can't learn and heal those energetic and psychological wounds, so you make a different choice in the now for the future. But physically fixing something that has already manifested and already happened is not possible.
Are you familiar with the Mandela effect?
Yes.
So let's just go into that for a couple moments then, because I see it regularly now, right?
Okay.
And they have labeled it the Mandela effect, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, from Nelson Mandela.
Yeah. And there's lots of those pieces around. I don't know if Dennis is here. Dennis did something with regards to that. There's doppelgangers, right? Many different doors that this choice will lead you down this pathway. This choice will lead you down that pathway. And I don't know, probably off topic. And but it's really interesting to me.
It is interesting. It's got some interesting points.
So let's go back to the practical, because ultimately that's what I really want to have from this episode. And then if we want to go into the esoteric, that stuff another time we can. Let's get back to the practical, because ultimately at the end of the day, we have a physical body that needs the bathroom, it needs to move, it needs to sleep, it needs to eat, and we need to feel safe, and we want to create a life, and we want to have hope, and we want to be connected to our Dharma. And what you've already said is really powerful. Definitely know thyself, and then going through that. And then you said this, you went through the second one. Let's go ahead and finish the rest of your.
Cool. Yeah. Excellent. We're in the third part, which is practical lifestyle alignment, right? So supporting ethical commerce, create value, not exploitation, right? So if you're building a business or a service, you do that morally and ethically. You are creating value. We think about the condition of the world, right? What are you contributing to that problem? If you have that correct diagnosis, what is the value that you are adding to remedy that? Right? That one right there, a lot of people have a hard time with. But of course, if you're not part of the solution, you're definitely part of the problem. So creating value. Live simply and sustainably, right? We can reduce the harm to our environment and others through our choices. This is something that I am a lot of these constantly trying to upgrade and do better at. But this directly refers to extreme materialism, hoarding, physical objects. I went from a mid-size, large home, 4-bedroom house, to a 2-bedroom house, right? And I had all this stuff that I had to really ask myself, do I need this? Do I really need that? And get rid of it, right? Get rid of it. Even in like the Eastern traditions, if you go into someone from the East, their home has just the minimal stuff in their house. And again, this is a subjective choice. The point is understanding the consumerism and the materialism aspect of just wanting more, right? So striving for that simplistic and practical and sustainable lifestyle has profound energetic and psychological attributes that benefit oneself. Something that I'm very much interested in is Feng Shui, which is, the energy of space and how it flows. And this is really important. If you have a lot of clutter in your house, the energy cannot flow harmoniously. And that does have an effect on individuals, on ourselves as well. And of course, sustainability. I mean, someone thinks, oh, well, I'm driving a Tesla. It's an electric vehicle. But yeah, are you really? Right? Those lithium mines. So there's things we can do. And I'm not saying, ride a bike everywhere either. Right? There's a balance. So moving to the fourth category, which is boundaries and polarization. Number 1, discern. See through the illusions, right? And the programming. This also relates to the initiation steps of learning how to think, using the trivium and the quadrivium, the truth discovery method, and critical thinking to discern as accurately as possible, right? With all the current events happening, understanding how it applies to morality, or immorality? Is it useful? You mentioned the Mandela effect. I've spent many, many hours on that. Is it useful? Right? Perception is very pliable. So those are kind of, aspects that we can always use. Discern, which when you discern, you are using judgment, right? So that's important. Number 2 is limit your influence on inverted systems, meaning, do what you can. Kids out of public school, the harma industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the banking system. I have a bank account. Do I keep money in it? Only when I need to pay something online. But that's me, and I just don't want to put my energetic resources in there, right? So it's supporting these inverted or not supporting these inverted systems to the best of your ability. And the last one, in boundaries and polarization, lead by example, meaning authenticity, right? You are embodying what you say. Do what you say, practice what you preach. The next category, this is reverence or sacred reciprocation. That's what I'm calling it, right? So giving back to nature, understanding that human beings, we are the stewards of this planet. So performing energetic rituals and giving back to the planet, to the earth, giving gratitude for the land that, my dwelling is on. I pick up garbage on my street. Those kind of things have profound effects, right? You are giving a reverence to nature as well as your local environment as well. Serve the real greater good, which you are activating and providing and adding that value towards the solution of the moral good, which is speaking and acting upon the injustice and the immorality and the slavery in the world, right? To the best of your ability, and then you can also attach what is your value to even that. We all have different characteristics and attributes that we can contribute. And that's what the one great work is. It's contribution to the real greater good, to truth and objective morality. The last 2, balancing the self, right? Stay out of victimhood. Don't play the martyr. And own your accountability and your responsibility. We all together are sharing this reality, and we are all facing slavery, different degrees and ratios. But yes, we are in this situation. A lot of people like to play the victim. We're being attacked, this angle, that angle, this way, that way. Yes, sure, that is happening. But what are you going to do about it? Right? So staying out of victimhood and martyrdom. And then staying in right relationship with self, others, nature, and great spirit. So that's kind of the all-encompassing one. Everything's based upon relationships. It just depends on the condition of that relationship. So applying the ethical virtues and understanding objective morality and embodying that would absolutely, for sure, staying in right livelihood or right relationship. So those are my 4 categories right there.
Thank you for putting that together. To answer your question in the chat, Will created that document that he's reading from. This is his creation. It's not something that he's reading from someone else's work. Last week, it was last week, yeah. I said, hey, I need a checklist. And he created this outline. If you would like one, you need to talk to Will. So reach out to willkeller.com for that.
I'll put a download link in the description of the video. I'll also send it to Stefana. It'll have this checklist or this outline. There's also some additional resources I will put in there, kind of, like some subcategories. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is last episode, we talked about the steps of initiation, right? This goes hand in hand with the outline that we put out today, right? Stop lying, stay away from escapism, cognitive dissonance, learn how to think, live in the present moment, and activate the physical body.
Yeah. So we almost ended with the lemniscape. I was talking about that infinity symbol, right?
Yes.
And I think that that's similar to this, except it's more of if you're either going to spiral downward or you're going to spiral upward. What I'm seeing now, because I'm in my past very much a heavy checklist girl, right? That makes me worthy if I've checked 25 things off of my checklist. Yay, I got these things done. So that's an old programming, right? That's an old format that wants to check things off the checklist, because if I did a lot of good things, then I'm worthy, right? Then I'm deserving, or I created a better impact. But ultimately, life is a process. Life is the process of becoming aware. Maybe it's not very comfortable, so then you have to process that, digest it. Kind of trivium, but then decide whether or not you're going to let go of it, what you're going to take action on, and then moving forward in this constant dance, while also building in the time for the reflection. And that, I think, is the foundation for all of us, each individual. Things are going so fast at hyperspeed that we're not allowing ourselves to have the moment to even decide in this moment, is this a right relationship I'm in? Even with myself, even with this, even with my book, is this right? And so I know for myself, since I started this journey a few months ago, is it a few months? Well, August 2024, specifically the Passio's work, that I have shifted to spending more time processing, whereas before I would have run as fast as I could to the end. I just want the end result. And so I find myself, I don't want to say not good at processing, but that's the one area that that's not a strong suit for me, to spend the time processing my own internal stuff. I'm great with others. I can totally do that. I've been trained and I can help and process all day long, because that's what I was trained to do. Look at outside of myself, and I can tell anybody what to do and what, right? That's kind of the effect that we have on this planet. Someone putting their values there, doesn't matter we're good or bad, me asserting my values on someone else, right?
Yeah.
And yet, as I say that, I think, okay, that's me walking through the grocery store and I see someone do harm to their child. It's very challenging for me not to do something. And then that takes me time to process and like, okay, I just have to let it go. I just have to let it go. I just have to let it go. Right. And so these are all the things that are happening within me to process. And I am committed to doing this in a public way for 3 more times, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 3 more with Will. And I might just go hide back in my cocoon for a little bit to do my processing. But I committed to allow myself to just be in the public eye to go through this, because I think there's so much carefully curated content out there that we forget that there is incredible processing, understanding, learning, connection that has to happen. And I think Will is modeling for us such an example of what mentorship is about. Having someone who can guide you and hold calm energy so that you can go through and process this. We just happen to be doing it live. And so this is where I think I didn't hear you specifically say about a mentorship in the outline, but that would probably be where right relationships would be, because I think
Yes.
a mentorship and a community and a connection is so vital as we're navigating. And that's where the whole theme of tribal, but a healthy way, right? Where, because I know we've gotten into this tribal that's unhealthy, and then we don't want to get stuck in our tribal think. I definitely don't want that. I definitely want an expansive energy where we are following natural law. We're moving in that flow, and there's that natural rhythm that's sane. Because as I was looking, as I was studying about the Kabbalion, no, the Hermetics, the laws of Hermetics. Remind me, is it Kybalion? No, not Kabbalah, Kybalion.
The Kybalion.
The
Yes.
Kybalion.
It is a book.
Yeah. And so a second time through reading that those laws at a higher level, when you practice at a higher level, you can actually exteriorize from that and not be caught up in the pendulum swing of cause. Not, it's like, what was it? It was the rhythm where there's this back and forth pendulum swing. And so I'm starting to dive a little deeper in that, because I really want to understand that piece of it. But at the same time, I don't want to go to the other end of it and become solipsism, where I just go and sit on my mountaintop and meditate and all is well, Om, for the rest of my life, right? So this is what I'm navigating and trying to, within my own ethos, and then also, so as a woman, as a single woman, especially because I don't have a partner to have discussions, and I don't want one, okay, so the right relationships, right? That's that. But I am a mom first and foremost, and that's so important to me. And I want to model for them this healthy thing, although they see me and they see a little bit of a victimy. And I think I do portray a little bit of a victimy thing, which really pisses me off, because I don't want that, but I think that's in there. So I want to work on that, the victim part. I wonder if that's a pendulum swing thing. And then just because you said victim and martyr, and so that's the two ends of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So interesting. I mean, life is freaking interesting. And if I can just, I want to say because I don't want to put this on anybody. If we can all just allow for ourselves to have the time to learn and process, digest, eliminate, and then act. I think, I'm starting to get this. I'm starting to get that movement of, okay, I'm not running yet. I'm literally crawling still. Like, okay, this is what this is. Okay, that's what that feels like. And that you're so patient like this, well, it's incredible. Because I think I've asked the same questions and I'm still struggling up against those beliefs, right? I've practiced most of my life to change the past. I refuse to accept it. I refuse. And that's not useful. It's just not useful.
Yeah, learning from the past, accepting it and learning from it to apply what you have learned in the now for the future.
That word accepting, I refuse. I don't want to accept. I think anyone who has had sexual abuse and trauma, if you don't want to just accept that, because it feels like there's a rejection. There is a rejection of it. And if you don't reject it externally, it tends to internalize, and then you internally reject yourself or some part of yourself. And that is a dangerous place to be. So I have to really navigate this carefully One, because I am a trauma informed therapist, and I understand the depths of pain, and so I know I can shift certain things using tools that I've been trained in and using this understanding. But now with this whole other body of knowledge with regards to life in the macrocosm, trying to balance this is really incredibly, well, it's challenging for sure. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how things unfold, because that's all I can do, right?
Well, I admire your courage, and there's so much value in these episodes. Even that word acceptance, right? It's not accepting the immorality. It's accepting that it did happen. That's where the acceptance is. It's a part of the past, as in a past event that actually happened. That's the acceptance part.
Yeah, and I refuse. I utterly refuse. And I've spent
For sure.
a lot of time repaving pathways in my brain of something that I wanted instead. And that was a significant healing time for me. I mean, it's what I think allowed for me to just be a better person, because I repaved those brain neural functions that was so deeply embedded in that trauma. And then my self-worth as a result of that trauma, right? And so I just, nope, I still reject it. But I'm gonna listen to this episode again, and I'm gonna really take it to heart and like, okay, see what this means, and just understand it, because I do want to understand it, but I don't want to understand it just because you said, and rhetorically speaking, you or Mark or anybody said it. I want to understand it because it's useful, because it's true in the whole, and that as that understanding takes place within me, that as a result, that impacts and has a ripple effect in the ether, in the energy field, in the quantum, blah, 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 whatever. Because I do know that is also something that's impactful. Like when we raise our energy frequency, we know, that I go back to David's book on power versus force. Okay, a lot, Will. So good.
Very well said right there. I totally agree. That's fantastic, what you just said.
Awesome. Don't know what I just said because I just said it. But I'll go back and process it. And then I'm just going to check in the chat because I want to make sure we didn't miss any questions.
Cool.
Well, letting it go, Daryl, interesting and great conversation. Yes. And another book that's really powerful that I use with my clients all the time is Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die. John Gray did a lot of work on that early in my therapy years. That was a catalyst to a lot of positive work. And then I think it's Carol Trueman for Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die. And then, of course, Cannon's work, all of that it's not that you don't let go. It's a different thing. So letting go is one thing, but in my programming, the letting go and acceptance is synonymous, and it's not the case. They're not the same. It's like early on when Will was saying karma, dharma equals purpose equals natural law. I was this equals this equals this equals this. And one apple does not equal another apple. They're similar, but they're not the same. And so my mind's trying to make everything be the same, because that's a way for me to be safe. That is just a programming that I have. I want to be safe. My central nervous system wants that, right? So the physical body is looking to be safe. And that's part of that piece. So, okay. What else? Everything is open, whether we like it or not. Everything is open, whether we like it or not. Don't know what that means. Question. I don't see any other things with a question mark. Do you? Did you, Will? See anything?
I do not. And then, yeah, again, Thomas, I will put the PDF download link in the description as well for people to kind of to download. And
Yeah. And then if there's anything specific that you would like to hear us talk about, I have some things that I'm going to continue to work with Will on in terms of getting questions, answers that I have with regards to the Hermetic principles, with regards to some of the concepts, with regards to some of Mark's work, and then the initiation, and just applying it to life and living this and leading ourselves. I think Will's outline is incredible. I'm excited to look at that. And then I have to go listen to this episode so I can actually soak it up and get it. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I will see you next week with Will, right? 3 more weeks?
That's right.
Okay. And
Loving
then
it.
thank you so much for doing this. We're going to have a happy Friday, and we'll see you next time. Will, if you want to sign out with anything, go for it.
No, it's a great, another fantastic conversation, discussion. Thanks for everyone that tuned in, and enjoy your weekend. And yeah, we'll see you next Friday. Oh, actually, I do want to say something real quick. I'm doing my full extended presentation on April 22nd, which is next Tuesday. That is Earth Day, and it's called Symbiosis, the Rhythm of Life. I gave a very small portion of it at the Funnel Conference. This is going to be the full extended. It's going to be impactful. I'm actually very excited to deliver this presentation. It will be live, and there's an open panel discussion at the end. So people can tune in. You can go to my website, willkeller.com, for all the details on that.
Oh, incredible. Exciting. Okay. I'll see you there on Tuesday, everyone. Okay. Thanks again. Have a great weekend.